Hello, everyone, and welcome to GCEC Virtual Connections. Here we are for our 40th webinar session. And today we're going to talk a lot about accelerator programs and the ecosystems they create. We have two amazing schools who have won awards for their outstanding contributions to venture creation. Before we dive into that, I just want to welcome anyone who might be new to GCEC. My name is Jeff Reed from Georgetown University. I've actually been participating in GCEC for about 27 years, I think it might be, since the 90s. And it's just one of the most valuable experiences every year for me to attend the national conference, but also to engage with our members all year round. Things like our webinars, our Slack channel, awards programs, our LinkedIn. There's a lot of great stuff going on. And it's just an amazing way for university entrepreneurship center leaders to share with each other. It's a community that has always been prioritizing the ability to share with one another with that entrepreneurial spirit. I think we consider how do we grow the pie for everybody instead of just fighting for our slice of the pie. So we're excited to continue to produce these webinars and look forward to hearing from some of our members here very soon. But we also want to just put out a plug for our upcoming global conference. We're thrilled that our friends just north of the border are going to be hosting us in Calgary in October. So the University of Calgary will host the GCEC conference October 2 through 4. Registration email will be going out next week. So be ready, sign up early, take advantage of these wonderful exchange rates. And from those of us coming from the US, it's going to be an amazing conference. We're really excited. I saw Guy is here, Guy Levesque. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly there. Très bien. And so we look forward to seeing a lot of people in Calgary in October. All right. A lot of fun things. So, Guy, what's a Calgary themed dinner? Can you tell us real quick?
I guess 4A Angus steak and prime ranch steak. So there's that. We're planning all sorts of really cool excursions. There's a lot of nice mountains around here. So a trip to the mountains, a trip downtown, and some fine dining will be replete throughout the 3 days of our fantastic event.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you giving the pitch there. Awesome. So that'll be in October. But for today, as I mentioned, we've got two great panelists to share their experiences and best practices around accelerators. I'm going to introduce them both now, but they'll go one at a time, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. We also have a special announcement coming up at the end of today's program. And I do encourage you to use the chat if you want to ask questions, put in links, tell some jokes, as long as they're clean. Watch out. And Bruce and Greg, you guys can keep talking smack about basketball or hockey if you want. Awesome. All right. With that, I'm going to introduce Anna Wislocki, who will go first from the University of Chicago. And then after Anna, John French from the University of Toronto. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Anna. Thank you so much for telling us all about what's going on in Chicago.
Right. Give me just 1 second to pull up my slides and make sure that everyone can see them the right way. All right. Hopefully everyone sees just the slides. Are we in good shape?
Looking good.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, Jeff, thank you so much for the kind introduction. My name is Anna Wislocki. I'm Associate Director here at the Polsky Center of Science Accelerators and Investments. I oversee our 3 vertical deep tech accelerator programs, which I'll talk a little bit more about today. I've been at the Polsky Center for about 3.5 years now, during which I've had the opportunity to work with these accelerator programs, in addition to also working with the I-Corps program here at the Polsky Center, and some other initiatives that we have coming out of our Polsky Center. I have a background in the life sciences, specifically a PhD in chemistry. So with that, I'm going to turn it over and start the presentation. All right, so, give me 1 sec. There we go. All right, so for those of you that are new to the University of Chicago or the Polsky Center, I'm going to give you some background and history here. So the University of Chicago is one of the top-ranking universities in the U.S. performing cutting-edge research, and it's also home to Nobel laureates, and it is a top-ranked business school in the U.S. So the Polsky Center, which is just one part of the University of Chicago, has a deep history of innovation We have over 600 companies that have been launched just out of the Polsky Center, and altogether, over $1 billion of funding have been raised by these companies from the Polsky Center, and over $10 billion in investments and in exits. So these companies that you can see on this list, there's some big names here: Grubhub, Tavala. They all came out of the Polsky Center. Just recently, we heard that Simple Mills was acquired by a company as well. And all this is really just to say that the Polsky Center has been doing entrepreneurial programs and is really helping startups find their way in their entrepreneurial journey for a very long time. So the Polsky Center has a robust suite of programming across entrepreneurship, education, and science and technology. And some of these include the 5 tracks of our New Venture Challenge program, which I'll talk about a little bit, our Build and Launch Accelerator, and then also our Polsky Tech Venture Accelerators, which I'll really focus on today for most of the presentation, since those accelerator programs are applicable to people outside of the University of Chicago. In addition to that, I also wanted to note that the Polsky Center has been recognized for its work supporting traditionally underrepresented communities in starting businesses through the Polsky Exchange. So we have more than 270 active members. The exchange offers services to support its members through providing a workspace, small business development center, and then more than 415 variety types of programs and workshops annually. And then also we provide mentorship from more than 100 specialists. So with that, I'm going to kick it off and talk a little bit more about these Polsky Accelerator programs that I just mentioned. The first of which is the New Venture Challenge. So the New Venture Challenge is one of the top ranked accelerator programs with successful graduates, including, as I mentioned, Grubhub, Braintree, and Simple Mills, just to name a few. There are 5 different tracks that we have of the New Venture Challenge. We have the original New Venture Challenge, which has been around for over 20 years. We have the College New Venture Challenge, which is really applicable to college students. Whereas the New Venture Challenge is applicable to MBA students. We have the Global New Venture Challenge, which speaks for itself. It is designed for executive MBA students in not only North America, but also Europe and Asia. And then also we have the Alumni New Venture Challenge. So this one is specifically for alumni from our university who have early stage ventures and are looking for fundraising. In addition to that, we finally have the Social New Venture Challenge as well. The next program I'd like to highlight is the Build and Launch Accelerators. So the Polsky Center's Build and Launch Accelerator gives student teams opportunities to work intensively on their ventures in a collaborative environment over the summer. So the the build portion of this accelerator is really designed for concept or early stage ventures, whereas the Launch Accelerator is designed for growth stage ventures, and it allows founders to really spend their summer fundraising for their venture, selling their product or service, and also just gaining and maintaining momentum. And these teams usually receive funding, coaching, and also weekly programming. But as I mentioned, what I really wanted to focus on today was these Polsky Tech Venture Accelerators. So there are various different units that support entrepreneurship here at the Polsky Center, and one of them is this Polsky Technology Ventures department. And what we really do is we translate deep tech and science innovation into startups. And we have 2 different pillars to really support our deep tech programming. The first of which is our 3 accelerator programs. We have 3 verticals across our accelerator programs. We have a quantum, a clean tech, and a data and AI accelerator program, which again, I'll talk a little bit more in a few. And then second, as I mentioned, we really provide a full spectrum of entrepreneurial support. So all the way from earliest ideas for commercializing your technology to also, like, to really just commercializing your technology. And then also what we do is we understand that no startup is complete without funding. So that's why we have these other opportunities for funding, such as the George Shultz Innovation Fund Program, which is an internal fund at the University of Chicago that provides funds up to $250,000 per startup to technologies in the deep tech space. And this is open to UChicago researchers, faculty, alumni, and students. We also have a new fund called the Harper Court Ventures Fund, which is a fund in formation right now that is going to be a $25 million fund. And this one is really formed to fund university affiliated companies that are coming out of these different accelerators that I'm about to talk about. So as I mentioned, we have these 3 different accelerator programs. We have our quantum accelerator program called Duality. It was our first accelerator program that was launched back in 2021. About a couple years later, we launched our Transform, our data and AI accelerator program. And then just recently, we launched our clean tech accelerator program called Resurgence. And I'm just going to throw this plug in. We do have applications opening up in August for all 3 accelerators. So what's really awesome about these accelerator programs is that we provide a slew of different opportunities or different type of support elements to guide you through your entrepreneurial journey while you're in our accelerator program. We offer both technical and business mentorship. We offer student talent. We offer entrepreneurial training. So a lot of the program, especially at the beginning, the first 4 weeks of the program, we give you many entrepreneurial sessions that focus on various topics such as pitch practice, financial modeling, term sheets and negotiations. What are the best practices when approaching a VC or someone that you're looking to raise money with? And then in addition to this entrepreneurial training, we also offer various workshops to also guide these startups through their journey. In addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, we offer funding. So depending on the accelerator, some Transform, for example, offers $25,000 in funding, whereas Resurgence offers 30, and then 30,000, and then Duality offers $50,000 in funding. Another great thing about being a part of the University of Chicago is we also offer a large network of both corporate and VCs. We alone have booth angels, so we can connect you with those angels if you're looking to raise money, if you're looking to fundraise. In addition to that, we also offer various opportunities and events where you as a startup can go and interact with these VCs and then potentially schedule follow-on conversations with them. And then finally, we offer desk and co-working space at the University of Chicago, specifically on campus, and then a couple buildings off of campus. So one of the things that I just highlighted was the student talent. So because we're a part of a university, because we're part of the University of Chicago, we have the ability to connect our startups to fantastic student talent. And a lot of the student talent comes from MBA students. Sometimes we even get students who come in from technical areas, such as the Data Science Institute. And what happens during this specific networking event called the Collaboratorium is our startups pitch to a room of students, usually MBA students, and pitch to these students and ask for internship opportunities for these students. And so what happens after they pitch is that they have the startups have an opportunity to meet with students and see if there's a good match there, to see if the student would like to work with the startup on an internship basis. Oftentimes this is unpaid, and the students are more than happy to put that on their resume and put their experience working with the startup on the resume. And then also the startups benefit from the talent from the students as well. And what we've actually seen is many of the students carry on to actually stay as full-time members on those startups. So it's a really good opportunity for not only the startup, but also the student. So we also offer a variety of different mentorship and coaching opportunities while the startups are in the accelerator programs. So we offer ad hoc mentorship. So these are really our Polsky mentors who engage with these startups on an ad hoc basis. We have over 100 mentors on our website that the startups are always available to access and reach out to. In addition to that, we also have technical and business specific mentors for each of our 3 accelerator programs. Usually, oftentimes, the technical experts are data scientists. They're experts from both academia or the industry, whereas the business mentors are usually seasoned entrepreneurs, have had many startups. There could be VCs, and they also offer that hands-on guidance from a business perspective. And then finally, our team meets with the startups bi-weekly. We check in on the startups, make sure that they're hitting their milestones, make sure that they're hitting their goals, making any connections for the startups to really involve them in the Chicago ecosystem that we've built over the many years. So I also mentioned that we have this desk and co-working space. So while you're in the accelerator program, you have access to all of these facilities listed here. The first of which is the Harper Court building, where you'll have most of your programming, most of your entrepreneurial sessions. Some of them may also happen in the Polsky Exchange, which is a building that I mentioned earlier. And then we actually have a new incubator that will be launching at the beginning of this year. Which I will speak a little bit more here. It's a 22,000 square foot building. The fifth floor will be dedicated to Hyde Park Labs, which will be where anyone who, for example, participated in the accelerator program, wants to stay in Chicago, wants to find a location to remain or find office space, they can use this space in order to incubate. And as I mentioned, doors opened at the beginning of this year. So I wanted to really briefly touch on some of the accelerator programs that we have. The first is the Quantum Accelerator program. So I'm going to skip over some of these slides because I do see I'm running up on time. But I really wanted to kind of focus on the details of the program specifically. So Duality is a quantum accelerator program. It's a 12-month program, so it's a full year, and it really focuses on providing entrepreneurship guidance for quantum enabling technology startups. These are usually early stage startups. They are usually past that proof of concept phase, past that, idea on a napkin phase. And what they do is while they're here in the program, they're really incubating in the Chicago ecosystem. And by doing so, they get access to not only our ecosystem, but also the resources that we have. We are partnered, the Duality Accelerator is partnered with a variety of different organizations, including Argonne, National Laboratory, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and then the Chicago Exchange, Quantum Exchange. By being a part of the Duality Accelerator, you also have access to, as I mentioned, these different labs. One of them is Argonne. We also have access to Fermi-Lab. The University or Chicago also has many laboratory opportunities in the Chicago area. So it's just another way for the startups to get access to our resources. So as I mentioned, these are just some of the areas of Duality that the Duality Accelerator, the types of startups that we bring in. Quantum computing, communication, and quantum sensing. And these are also some of the requirements. Again, I'm not going to go into detail about these. We'll have a deck that I will send off to everyone to take a look, but really the details about what makes you eligible for the program are here. The next accelerator program we have is Transform. It's our data science and AI accelerator program. And this accelerator program is in partnership with the Data Science Institute and some other organizations here in Chicago. And really our Transform Accelerator program, as long as you have some type of data in AI in your startup technology, you're eligible for the program. So I've listed just some various areas verticals that you may be eligible for, but this isn't all encompassing.
So Anna, we are running out of time, so maybe you can wrap up.
All right, yes. And then the last one is Resurgence. And this one again covers a variety of different areas of clean tech. And again, very similar to Transform. It's a 6-month-long program. And again, there's other opportunities. We have a fellowship program, which offers student talent to our Resurgence startups. Eligibility, again, I'm going to skip over that. And then I wanted to just finally highlight that we've had over $60 million in both non-dilutive and dilutive funding that the startups have raised just over the past 2 to 3 years. So it's really been successful 3 vertical programs, accelerator programs that we've been seeing. And then I want to just finally add that you do not need to be a part of the University of Chicago in order to be eligible for these programs. I also want to always want to emphasize that so that if anyone's interested, they're more than welcome to reach out to me. Here's a QR code that takes us to our website and my email at the bottom. Thank you.
That is amazing, Anna. Thanks so much. Maybe you can put your email in that link in the chat as well.
Yep. And I'll answer any questions online as well.
Yeah, it's really, really an unbelievable program. I know there's a lot to share, and I'm sorry we didn't have more time for it. I have one quick question, and before John, you can feel free to go ahead and share your screen if you want while I'm getting this question teed up here. So
Sure.
Anna, that's a lot, and I know I'm guessing that others are thinking that I am, is like, what is the annual budget to cover all this stuff? And what are what are the biggest sources of the funding for this?
Yeah, so a lot of our funding comes from the University of Chicago. It comes from the University of Chicago, but we also, because we are in partnership with a lot of our accelerators, we're in partnership with the Chicago Quantum Exchange, for example. Those partners also provide funding. So we receive funding from those external organizations as well.
And it's got to be a huge amount of money to run all these different programs.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
And how big is the team that runs all this?
The 3 accelerator programs is a team of 4.
Oh, very impressive.
We're a
Awesome.
lean but mighty team.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Okay, well, we might come back with some more questions as we go, but now let's turn it over to John French from the University of Toronto. Over to you, John. And you're still muted.
There we go.
There you go.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. Everyone can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. And Anna, you're a tough act to follow. I can completely relate to trying to pack in a ton of information into 15 minutes. So I'll go really quick. This deck is a greatest hits of our submission for the award, but I'm looking forward to the Q&A as well. And so my office is the University of Toronto Entrepreneurship. You can think of us as a center for all of the centers at U of T. We have 12 incubators or campus accelerators across our tri-campus. And my office is located inside the office of the Vice President, Research and Innovation. So we're very closely connected to the Tech Transfer Office. On the screen here, you see part of the dream team in Boston at GCEC. Just to echo Jeff and Guy, we're really excited to have everybody north of the border in Calgary in the fall. So look forward to seeing everybody there. Before diving into entrepreneurship, I wanted to highlight 3 things about the University of Toronto. And we talk about how a lot of universities and colleges have 1 or 2 of these 3 things, but we think part of U of T's secret sauce is that we've got all 3 of them. First is that we're very big. So almost 100,000 students, a quarter of them are international, 15,000 faculty spread across 3 campuses. Number 2 is academic excellence. And so all of the different rankings, I chose the QS World Ranking when it looks at the 50 subjects globally, and U of T is in the top 50 in 46 of those top 50, more than any other university in the world. And in addition to the excellence, we're inclusive and accessible. And so a quarter of our students, this is they're the first in their generation that are attending university. About 40% of them are receiving academic assistance funding to help them attend the university as well. So we're big. We are very strong on the research front, and we're accessible. The latest UBI survey, the last time they did this, U of T was top 5 university managed business incubators in the world. Some of those smiling faces are the staff from the various accelerators and incubators at the university. And I joined the U of T in 2020. And coming out of the pandemic, for several reasons, you can see the incredible growth in the number of entrepreneurial teams and startups that we support. And so we're now at a point where we support almost 1,000 teams across our tri-campus. And this is what it looks like at the University of Toronto. So these are our engines of innovation. We could do individual panels or webinars on each of these accelerators or incubators, but a couple of quick highlights. On our Mississauga campus, we have a wet lab incubator called Spin Up. On our downtown or St. George campus, the engineering school has the hatchery. The UTEST program is our deep tech accelerator. So similar to some of the programming that Anna mentioned, University of Toronto Early Stage Technology Accelerator supports over 30 deep tech companies with research or IP out of the university every year. We have a Black Founders Network. Our Health Innovation Hub in the Faculty of Medicine, H2I, supports almost 200 health-focused teams every year. And then we have 2 other incubators or accelerators on our Scarborough campus. And we talk about there being no wrong door. Doesn't matter what you study, where you study, how early in your entrepreneurial journey you are, there is a door for you to access. And increasingly, some of our top teams are participating in multiple accelerators. And so you could be a Black engineering student working on a life sciences company who lives in Scarborough and be part of 4 or 5 of these different accelerators and leverage networks and funding and co-working space, etc. My office, UTE, we kind of have 5 main objectives. One is to support that map that I just showed you, those 12 campus accelerators. We do deliver programming and funding not only to startups and to student-led companies and ventures, but also to the accelerators themselves. We manage a co-working space, which I'll talk about. We lead the university's participation at large innovation and global technology conferences. And then obviously, like many of us on this call, we're excited and focused on venture creation and funding and economic impact, but we're also all about developing entrepreneurial skills and entrepreneurial mindset for our graduates, regardless of whether they create a company or work for a startup or work someplace else. Our on-ramp is our co-working and collaboration and event and community space. And so it's 5,000 square feet. It's in the new Schwartz Riesman Innovation Campus. And I've got a separate slide for that building that I'll show you shortly. We have about 130 members currently. So it's your classic 24/7 access to hot desks and a kitchenette and mailing services. We have events and meeting rooms in the space that all members can access, and we have a tiered approach to our membership. So there is a small subsidized fee to be a member in the on-ramp. It's very inexpensive if you're a current student or a recent grad, and then it tiers upward if you are an alumni or a member of the entrepreneurial community, but not directly affiliated with the university. A few of our larger programs. One, we do an entrepreneurship week every year, the big celebration of all things innovation at the university. We just had ours a couple of weeks ago, and it featured 20 events across our 3 campuses. Some of the themes that get covered across those events include, we had several different events to celebrate International Women's Day. There were events around IP commercialization, mental health and wellness for founders. And we also have created a Deep Tech Download, which is our quarterly investor-facing newsletter where we highlight those deep tech companies that are actively fundraising. We work on that closely with our Innovations and Partnerships Office or our Tech Transfer Office and that UTEST Deep Tech Accelerator. The number of registrations for that has increased dramatically year over year. And so we've started doing Deep Tech Download live events where we bring out those companies that are in the process of raising and the VCs and angel investors from the ecosystem. And so we had one of those Deep Tech Download lives during Entrepreneurship Week. We also do a massive True Blue Expo. This year, we had almost 50 of our startups, as well as all of the accelerators and about 15 of the community partners and groups that were demoing or exhibiting across 3 floors in our primary building. We had almost 1,000 visitors. We also try to walk the talk when it comes to being a first customer or connecting our companies with potential customers. And so we had a startup marketplace as part of that expo. And we do a lot of things to support the founders when they are demoing or participating at these events. So we cover the cost of their Zap banners and make it easy for them to kind of showcase what they're working on to our ecosystem. Much similar to what Anna was presenting, we work very closely with several corporate partners. And so Desjardins is an example of one of the financial institutions up here in Canada that is mission aligned with what we're working on. And they allow us to give away over 100,000 in non-dilutive prize funding as part of the Big Pitch competition that is held every year during Entrepreneurship Week. Being so close in proximity to the Tech Transfer Office and our Innovations and Partnerships Office, one of the programs that we've created with entrepreneurs, with patent lawyers and experts in tech transfer is an IP education program, 2 different levels. Level 1 is basic IP literacy, when you should reach out and connect with our Tech Transfer Office and when to disclose. And then as you get into level 2, you get into patent strategies and do a much deeper dive. Each of these students who complete them can recognize them on their co-curricular record. So they can add them to their CV, to their LinkedIn. And what we do to drive participation in our IP education program is to provide tickets to tech conferences, require completion to be a member in that subsidized co-working space, require this to be something that you complete if you're going to pitch for the prize funding. And so part of the goal is just to create an ecosystem or a community of people that are familiar about the need to protect what they create. again, inclusive excellence, one of the big pillars for the university. And so a significant number of programs and events to encourage underrepresented communities to participate and engage. I think I saw Kayla, who's from our iCube Accelerator. She was at GCEC. iCube leads on several of these initiatives, a pitch with a twist to celebrate International Women's Day, and also a pride pitch that happens during June every year. Our H2I Accelerator delivers programming to encourage more women to get into STEM, and specifically to launch life sciences and health-focused companies. So that's the Fireside at FemSTEM program. And then our Black Founders Network was launched about 3.5 years ago, another community that was significantly underrepresented when we looked at the ecosystem. And this has 3 program components to it. One we call core, which is the kind of one-to-many, fill the top of the funnel and invite not only students and U of T stakeholders, but those from the broader community into programming. Then we deliver a 5-month kind of classic accelerator model with 12 companies every year. And we've just introduced BFN Scale, which is kind of like if you're familiar with YPO, it's kind of a mentorship or peer mentorship group for some of our most successful Black-led startups. Global university, and so have connections and deliver programming with NUS in Singapore, IITB in Mumbai, Huji in Israel. A lot of the kind of the international highway opportunities that we provide relate to either experiential learning in different geographies, or soft landing for startups that are looking to do businesses in different parts of the world. On the talent side, one of the pieces we introduced is what we think one of the largest job boards for a university or college focused on startups in North America. Depending on the time of the year, there might be 3,000 or more jobs and 300 startups on there with a University of Toronto connection. We use a tool called Getro, which some of you might be familiar with, which allows you to kind of scrape the job referral source and you're very hands-off once you create the list of companies that have an affiliation to your center. It will pull in as soon as they post a job, and it will remove that job once the company removes it from their page. It also allows you to assign responsibility or ownership for a specific company to the founder of a business. So if they don't have a career section on their corporate website, they can actually create an individual posting and use LinkedIn, etc. Going back to walking the talk, this is our U of T startup holiday market. Just another example of how we try to be a first customer. And so this holiday market was not only to invite the community in to buy kind of like B2C products or CPG products, but we also invited others from across the university who were buyers, who could procure from the companies that were at the holiday market. And we've taken that to another level where we've introduced a Buy Blue program. Buy Blue is basically incentivizes different departments at the university to be a first customer by covering 2/3 of the cost when they partner with the University of Toronto startup. And then my last couple of slides, we do have a startup perks program. I feel like a lot of us at our centers will have those where we make it easy for anyone who identifies as a U of T startup to leverage cloud credits, discounted shipping, printing, you name it. And any of those 1,000 teams can access these perks. And our headquarters now is in this beautiful new Schwartz Riesman Innovation Campus. The current building is the one on the left tower, which is 250,000 square feet. It's home to 4 of those accelerators I mentioned, as well as the Tech Transfer Office and our Vector Institute for Artificial Intelligence. And then the second tower, which is about to go up, is 500,000 square feet, and it is going to be focused on wet lab and life sciences, biotech commercialization. And then this is my last slide, some of the ways that we do it and some kind of thoughts that hopefully will lead us into the Q&A. Again, that no wrong door philosophy. We've created our main website, and about 4 of our accelerators have created their own sites on a WordPress multi-site. And what that means is if they have an event, if there's a news story, if there's a startup that's shared across multiple accelerators, we can push the content to each other really seamlessly. We get that group together for monthly community meetings and have Slack channels and listservs to support communication. the Provost Fund to build community, when I mentioned that UTE deploys some funding to some of those accelerators, we actually have some dollars from our provost that the accelerators can plug into to deliver programming that is accessible to the whole ecosystem. So again, in the spirit of breaking down as many silos and pillars as possible. And then I mentioned the Buy Blue program and this kind of ethos of becoming a first customer. And so I hopefully was able to cover all of that in time. And thanks for the opportunity. And Jeff, I'll hand it back to you.
John, that is absolutely amazing. Two amazing programs here. John, I'll ask you the first question similar to what I asked Anna. How much does this cost and how big is your team?
My direct team has 8 people on it, and we have about a $3 million budget, although most of that flows through to either the accelerators or directly to students or to the startups. And then the broader ecosystem, so that engines of innovation map, there's about 50 full-time headcount across the 12 accelerators. And it's about 10 to 12 million Canadian. So I guess let's say 9 million, 8.5 million USD. And similar to Anna, we get a lot of funding from the university, and that also flows through the province. But we're increasingly relying on corporate and philanthropic to do the work that we need to do.
That's very impressive for both of you. So I'm going to ask a couple of general questions. I see there's some in the chat already. Maybe I'll start with one of those. The perk slide seemed to generate some interest. I know I was curious about that. We've had some of those in our program. You had a lot, more than I've seen. Are there some of those perks that you find to be more useful than others? And do you have any advice for other schools that are trying to find those same kind of things for their program? And we'll start with John, and then Anna, you can add on if you like.
Perfect. I guess I've seen this and have done this 2 different ways over the years. There are organizations like I think F6S still does this, and GAN, where they are aggregators and there's hundreds of perks that are there. We found that a lot of those weren't getting used by our ecosystem. And so we honestly just created our own. And we started with, I would say, 8 to 10 of the usual suspects that are very popular. And it tends to be cloud credits, printing. We've got a printing one that's very popular, and there's a grant or helping you to find tax credits, government credits, that's also really popular. And then what we started to add on were our companies that graduated and grew to a certain point where we were actually able to put them in front of the other companies, and they were able to deliver on the perks. And so if you look at them, they're kind of that slide has a blend of our the large tech companies, the FANG companies that you would expect, and also a whole bunch of U of T startups that can now pay it forward and support others.
Very cool. Anna, you want anything there similar for
Yeah,
you?
so building off of what John said, that's still a very similar situation on the Polsky side as well. We, by being a part of the University of Chicago, the startups have all of the perks the students would have, but really the big one that people really care about, the startups really care about, are these credits, right? These cloud credits. So that is something that we offer, whether they're Google credits, whether they're AWS credits, Amazon, but in addition to that, we also offer vertical specific perks. So like, for example, the Quantum Accelerator program we offer, we have a partnership with Toptica, and they offer $25,000 in their equipment that the startups can rent out, can use up to $25,000 for any of their technology that they're working on, whether it's from a hardware or software perspective. So that's just one example. But very similar to what John said, it's caring about the things that they really need. Like, for example, we offer a few hours of free pro bono lawyer services. We have a variety of different law firms that we work with, Cooley, in addition to some other ones. And so we offer kind of some pro bono service hours for our startups, and the startups definitely take advantage of that, because a lot of them are thinking about incorporation, or they're already incorporated, but they're thinking about, taxes, whatever it may be. So it's a very valuable asset to them to take advantage of while they're in accelerator programs.
Excellent. Yeah, those legal fees are sometimes the first big bill that the startups have to find some way to overcome that cost.
Yeah.
So that's great. All right. So another general question for both of you. Like, we have a variety of schools, different size centers, ages. are there a couple of points that you think are most relevant takeaways, like something advice you might offer somebody who wants to replicate at least some of what you're doing? Are there a couple of key things that you would want to make sure that they know? And Anna, we can start with you on this one.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in here. So one of the things I'll say is talk to startups, talk to see what they need. What is it that, especially from an entrepreneurial training or programming perspective, there's so much out there. You know, you got your Y Combinator, they're doing their own thing. They have their different programs, or they have their different topics. Build off of that, build off of kind of what works, what doesn't work. You know, oftentimes we throw in a new session. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss, right? And so we do surveys to really check in on these startups and ask them about what their programming experience has been like. I would say that's kind of one of the big ones. But I'll pass it over to John. Maybe I'll think of something else.
Yeah, I like that one as well, Anna. The two that I will add, one in the funding environment, like the question you asked around how are you paying for all of this. We are increasingly needing to, work with corporate partners and or alumni who are donors, and so I would say think strategically about those groups that would be excited about what you're building, so that you can fund this would be number one. And then number two, and this is not just for an entrepreneurship center, an accelerator, but define what success looks like. What are the metrics that you're going to need to measure, and put in the infrastructure to collect those metrics and measure them from the start, because it can be painful trying to do that after the fact, or to kind of be herding cats and asking different groups to report on the metrics.
And I'll also add one quick thing. You know, I mentioned mentorship is one of the biggest things that we offer in our accelerator program. And I will say a lot of our mentors come to us and not the other way around. Take advantage of your ecosystem, take advantage of the university and the fantastic expertise that you can find there. A lot of our mentors are faculty, sometimes they're VCs, like I've said in the past. So just take advantage of the ecosystem that you live in and the environment that you live in, and use that to your advantage when building an accelerator program or something of that sort.
And this is just full of great stuff. There's a couple of more questions coming through in the chat. My experience with the perks is a lot of these companies are happy to give you the info. I think there's often a sales rep for like Amazon Web Services, things like that are people that are more than happy to work with the university and just give you a lot of free credits. Of course, their angle is if these companies grow, then they want those companies to start buying the bigger packages from them in the future, right? So it's generally easy to get if you call the company or find the right person, and you guys maybe can give your contacts out if people reach out to you. That's what I've seen. Any other kind of insight on how you find the perks, and do these companies expect a lot in return?
I'm not sure that I can speak specifically on that. I know a lot of our perks are accelerator specific. They're agreements that we made with those specific organizations. So they're technically not available to anyone outside. However, you're absolutely right, Jeff. There may be opportunities, even though you might not be an accelerator program. I'm sure they offer perks in some shape or form, as long as they continue to work with that organization.
We've had an AWS guy that every now and then he'll reach out and give us a bunch of credits whenever we need them.
I'm not surprised.
I assume that's startup schools too.
Yeah.
Jeff, I just dropped I was just gonna say I just dropped our perks program, that slide, into the chat, and it's also neat because feel like a lot of people are using or leveraging Airtable, and so there's another one of the ways that we use Airtable is to collect our perks. And as you go through, you'll see Microsoft for startups, AWS, Google, and then you'll probably see a bunch of names and logos that you've never heard of, and because they're University of Toronto affiliated perks.
Very cool. Thanks for that. People like perks a lot. So you guys talked about metrics, and obviously you're attached to universities. Are there, I guess, what metrics do you measure after companies leave, right? I think both of you cited like dollars raised and things like that. And then a second question, maybe not as related to metrics, but do you have students with startups in your programs, and how do you manage the potential conflicts around their time, or are these mostly alumni? And I know you both mentioned people from the community can also join. Like how much of this is students actually being founders, and not just the like interns that you mentioned, Anna, things like that, but are student founders part of your program? And then how do you guys measure impact after they leave the program?
Sure, I can quickly jump in here. So from a metrics perspective, yes, we absolutely look at how much, money has been raised by the startups. We look at how many team members have increased since the start of the accelerator program, since their uh participation in the accelerator program to, maybe the end of the accelerator program and onwards. Those are definitely metrics that we look at. But fundraising is absolutely a big one. The second question was related to kind of like, bring in these students to work with these founders. Oftentimes, when it comes to time commitment, it's not a concern. A lot of these students actually want to participate, and so they make the time. And I really haven't had an experience where the startup and the student maybe didn't have a good relationship. And even if that would be the case, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the times the students are doing this for free. So if the startup feels like it's not working out, it's just like a mutual agreement that it's no longer working, and they go their separate ways. There's usually depending on the startup, some startups ask to have some specific documentation signed, for confidentiality. That definitely has happened in the past, but we really, once we connect the startups to the students, we let them make those decisions on their own with the startup and the students specifically. We don't make any of those decisions for them.
And for us, I'd say probably about 3/4 of the entrepreneurs involved with our programming are students, either undergrad or further along. And similar answer to Anna, there's one-off situations, but for the most part, they're able to balance and kind of handle that. And then metrics is a tricky piece. I mean, I feel like we all struggle in that we know that it is easier to collect the funding metrics, but it's just the beginning, or it's a means to an end, and so we don't want to rely on them. So we try to measure full-time headcount and growth on the talent side. We do a lot of we had a student do a capstone project that we've started to implement around sustainability metrics, so we can actually, when it comes to climate and green, we can measure some of that. And then as a publicly funded institution and at the early stage of the continuum I described, we're just trying to measure engagement in courses and event attendance and that as well.
Standard kind of stuff. I hear you. We found some of our entrepreneurs are easier to track down than others after they leave the program, right? Gaining those
Yes,
metrics.
that
You
is
can
a
get some
big
from
challenge.
publicly available data, but some you need them to respond to you, and sometimes it's easier than others.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Any last words before we go on to another special announcement here? And by the way, you guys just have amazing programs. I was taking a lot of notes and look forward to digging in a little deeper.
No, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening and hearing more about our accelerator programs. I mean, we're constantly growing. We're constantly making iterations. I mean, if I think about the fact that when I started at the Polsky Center, it was the first year that Duality was launched. It hasn't even been that long, and I feel like we've made a lot of success even up until today. So, I provided my email. Always check in on the Polsky website. We're constantly posting news and updates to our things that are happening with our startups. I'll put the link in the chat for our Polsky website. So feel free to subscribe. We have a Polsky newsletter.
Thank you, Anna. And John, any last words?
Same thing, reach out to me if you want to connect. And I guess a plug, if you need an excuse to come up to Toronto in the summer when it's nice, the city's just announced Toronto Tech Week. So similar to New York Tech Week, San Francisco Tech Week. So 100+ events happening across the city, week of June 23rd. And if you are interested and you would like to connect with me when you're in town, we would be happy to host you.
Very kind of you. Any excuse to get to the Great North in June is a good one. And in October in Calgary, right? Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much to Anna and John. It's very clear to me why your programs won awards this year from GCEC. If anyone in our audience feels like you have a program that's just as good as that, well, you should apply for an award. And maybe you'll get one of those and be in one of these webinars in the future. I know there's a lot of great work going on. Thanks again for sharing. Next up, before we close out, we do have a special announcement from one of our good friends and longtime GCEC member representing Syracuse University and one of the nation's biggest and best veterans entrepreneurship programs. That's not what she's talking about today, though. Misty Fox from the Veterans Program is going to tell us a little bit about the Center Leader Academy. over to you,
Yes,
Misty. By
thank
the
you
way,
so-
Misty just launched her second startup around Christmas time, which is her now what 4-month-old baby. So
Exactly.
congrats on that.
Exactly.
Anyway, over to you, Misty.
So I have a brand new baby at home. As Jeff mentioned, I am a longtime GCEC attendee. Actually, my first one I think was the one that you hosted, Jeff. So I have really used the GCEC community to start since I was a program manager. And for the last 10 years, as Jeff mentioned, I'm now the director of the Danielle Institute for Veterans and Military Families at Syracuse University. And what we're here to talk about today is the Center Leader Academy. I do have slides, Nadine will send them out, but in interest of being brief and brilliant on this one so that y'all can go on with your days, I'll say this. We have a Center Leader Academy now that's really designed to do exactly what the network of GCEC does informally but formally. So to add to the kind of credibility of a center leader, we have created a certification that you as a center leader can go through 6 modules over 6 months. Holly just dropped the link to learn a bit more about programming, KPIs, how to use your ecosystem, how to navigate the politics of a university, how to really look at your leadership, how to design a budget. And first and foremost, I always say a program is great, but the family and the network is better. We've also created that network for you to work with other center leaders to really go through, what you're doing as a center leader, your programming, your pain points, your fundraising, your grant writing, etc. I see some of our graduates on here today, but applications are open. So you saw the link in the chat there. Check it out. If you're thinking about how do I grow my network, how do I really become someone that can take my center to the next level, this is a great program for you to go through and something that I would really encourage you to lean into. It's like I said, it's something that over my career I've used GCC to grow. And so we figured out how to formalize that process. So please check out the applications. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jeff because I know we're right at my
Awesome.
time.
Thanks, Misty. I've gotten to know some of the center leader participants over the last couple of years, and you guys put together a great program, and we've gotten great feedback from the previous attendees. And I know it just gets better every year. So thanks for that. I encourage anyone to join in on that. So with that, we're gonna once again put a plug in for upcoming webinars and for the October conference in Calgary, and look forward to seeing all of you at a future GCEC event. Thanks again to Anna and John for sharing today. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.